usually end with shouting some things out, but I'd love to hear how you answer this question. You can just say it out loud. I'll repeat it into the microphone. You came for Lane. Oh, hey, honestly, in Jesus' name, I'm not scared of that. Yeah, Lane's good. Lane's a good inviter, you know, empower, encourager. Come on, Lane. Just mama bird this church. In Jesus' name, so good. Put a little joy in your joy box this morning, Lane. I love that. Others, what are you doing here? Daddy issues. Yeah. And here's the crazy thing about a room like this. Some of you have daddy issues, and some of you have daddy issues. And that's fun. That's fun. Others, what are you doing here? Contribute to the good. All right. That could be like here, and here. All the above. I like that. Anyone else? What are you doing here?
Effing around and finding out.
Effing around and finding out. There's a lot of that. Honestly, there's a lot of that at New Abbey, and I'm grateful that you feel free enough in a church to F around and find out and to trust that God is with you in that journey. Because there's probably never church that you've ever experienced. This is not like we're so awesome, but I want more freedom in the world of churches where you would not say that out loud. You'd be like, what I'm here for is to end the oppression of the widow. I don't know. And I'm not saying that that's not a bad thing. You should do that. But you're all on a lot of different journeys here. So the thing today is, what are you doing here? And to talk about that, we're going to talk about some things. Pro presenter. This is going to happen a couple times today. I love it. Yeah, we're going to talk about the faithfulness thing. And if we can talk about the faithfulness thing, then we're going to talk about the exhaustion thing. And if we can talk about the exhaustion thing, then we're going to talk about everything. And if we can talk about everything, then the God thing. And if we can do the God thing, well then, the summer thing. And if we can do the summer thing, then the purpose thing. Sound good on a Sunday morning? All right. We're going to Bible nerd it out here just a little bit. Yeah, I love Bible nerding it out. So the Bible, particularly the Old Testament, works in a very specific way. You get to 1000 BCE, all right? So 1,000 years before Christ is on the earth. It's just like King David were building the temple, and Israel has gone through a bunch of different things. They have left many years before the land of Egypt and freed from oppression. They have the law now. They get to this new promised land. They're like, we want a king. We want to be like all of the other nations around us. God's like, you really don't want to be like all the other nations around us? Like, no, but we do. So God's like, okay, I'll give you my thing. And there's this little battle going on in the Hebrew scriptures. And it's just a similar battle that happens in every culture. So now you have what the kings want, and kings and government want certain things. And I don't know if you know this, but you don't always want what the government or the leaders of government want. I know, it's hard to imagine. I'm just telling you that this is what it was like in other worlds, not in ours, but in other cultures. Then there's the priest thing. So not only is the monarchy set up in the Hebrew Bible, but also the priests are set up. This is how do we do the God thing? How do we do sacrifices? How do we understand our lives in relationship to Yahweh? And then those things are in competition sometimes. Just like in our world, there's debating values between institutions and systems, and some people side, I kind of do more the priest thing. Other people are no, I'm more practical with the king thing. But what's so beautiful about the Hebrew scriptures, what's so beautiful about our faith tradition is there's this third thing that gets introduced, and it's the prophet thing. And the prophet thing is saying, okay, it's not that the king thing and the priest thing are always bad. It's just that sometimes they don't always work for everybody, that they have their own agendas, that sometimes government has its own agenda, and it's not always for the people, it's for the government. Sometimes religion, and this also may shock you, is not always for the people. Sometimes it's for the people who are doing the religious thing. And sometimes how do you challenge that? How do you follow another way? And what if the challenging of it is a good thing? And so you get a little bit after 1000 BCE, after David, and there's all of these kings, and there's these common stories that are taking place in the Hebrew Bible. And the stories pretty much go like this, that the kings are like any leader, and they are experiencing other countries around them, or they are participating in certain kinds of culture, and they're just introducing different things into this community. The Bible always uses words like idolatry, and they introduce the worship of these Baal gods gods and Asherah poles. Anyone like you did Awanas back in the day? You read the Old Testament? Yeah? You won your Bible? There you go. The rest of you are like, no, you've never heard of this before. Okay, that's great. It's a pretty common theme in the Bible. And the story of it is just this, is Yahweh saying like, no, I don't want you to worship these other gods. And it's not just like don't worship these other gods just for the sake of not worshiping these other gods. One of the things that's so interesting, I think about the Hebrew Bible, is like the pragmatism of it and the practicality of it. And the other gods, a lot of times they're just focused on certain things, as other gods might be. Maybe they're focused on war, or they're just focused on like fertility. So like if you're interested in like a good party, like go to a Baal and Asherah party. Good times, fertility party. Am I right? Okay. But Yahweh's like, but what if there's more to life than that? And I want you to be this like fully integrated people. Remember that I freed you from Egypt, and you were slaves, a really important thing that God will keep reminding the people of Israel of. You know what it's like to live under oppression. You know what it's like to have other people rule over you. So what I don't want is for you to like move into this promised land. You've got this new life for you, and you begin to forget my ways in this world. And so the Torah, or the first 5 books of the Bible, are really comprehensive about like touching every aspect of life. Like how you do everything matters. That you can't just like skip some things, that like your whole integrated life, like who you are in one thing, maybe is who you are in everything, is kind of the idea here. So like how you eat, what if that like shapes the way that you care for the poor? Like how you take care of animals. What if that influences the way that you govern in your society? Like what you do with your crops. What if that means that like widows do never go hungry in your society? So it's like this like beautiful, integrated, comprehensive world. And that's not happening in Israel a lot of the times. And not because like people are like horrible and evil, it's just that we're human beings and we all get distracted at times. And sometimes we get lost in what we're doing and where we're going and how we're going about it. And so the prophets come in. And the prophets are always saying like, no, come back to Yahweh. But I think many of us, if we grew up in like conservative church land, it's like, come back to Yahweh, come back to God because God's so mad at you. Anyone ever hear that story a lot? Like, don't you want God to stop being mad at you? Wouldn't that be like such a weird relationship if that was your relationship with your parents? Although we already said daddy issues, so maybe so. I have weird mommy and daddy issues too, so that was my relationship. But it's not a healthy relationship, right? Where you're like, hey, come back home after college, and then mom and dad will stop being mad at you. You're like, that's why I'm coming back home? That's weird. Versus like, no, I'm coming home from college because mom and dad like love me and they want to know about my life and like they want to give me wisdom and care for me, and like that's a completely different version of the story. What if mom and dad want me to be so integrated now as an adult and how I live? Of course I want to be around mom and dad. You know who celebrates me more than anybody, even when I don't do it right? Mom and dad. Now that's an interesting God that we want to be a part of. So the prophets are always saying, Israel, come back to that kind of mom and dad. A mom and dad who have always fought for you, who are always there for you, who always want to push you to this like beautiful, integrated life where like your life is actually working for you. And the prophets name that again and again and again in different ways. And so we get to this story, we get to 1 Kings, and there's this prophet named Elijah. And in 1 Kings 18, there is this story, and some of you, from like your, by the way, this is like an honest question. It's like, let's just pause a second, pause. How many of you guys like still read the Bible? I love that. Yeah, how many of you guys like, I can't touch the Bible right now? Yeah, all right, so it's like half and half, totally cool. And that's to be expected in a place like New Abbey. I love our faith tradition. I think the Bible is this beautiful thing. It is weird and messy sometimes, and it is so freeing when I'm not trying to make it do a bunch of things that it's not trying to do. But when I let it be messy, when I let it be complicated, and yet when there's so much like beauty inside of it. And so for those of you who are like, yeah, but the Bible, there's some good stuff there. Well, we're in 1 Kings 18, and we're with Elijah. And Elijah he's saying to all of the other prophets of Baal and Asher, he's like, bring 450 of each of those prophets, and we're going to have like a God off, It's going to be great. We're going to see whose God's more powerful here, and like we're going to like get some fire, and we're going to like see if we can get the fire going. And like you're going to pray to your God, and I'm going to pray to my God, and let's see how this whole things work. And so they do it. There's a big show. There's pyrotechnics, right? The other god, the 900 prophets, they couldn't get anything to go on there. They're like praying real hard, sweating, saying all the words. Nothing's happening. And then, Elijah gets up. There's like, pour water on all the wood. Lots more water. Pours the water on, prays to God. The fire happens. And then everyone's like, clearly Yahweh's still the best God. I don't know why they sound like Kermit the Frog, but that's how they sounded. That's a traditional voice 3,000 years ago. And so they're like, oh my gosh, Yahweh's God. And then this is where like the Bible gets weird, because this is like, like we just don't live this way. And then Elijah's like, now slaughter all of the prophets. And you're like, wow, they just really took a left turn there. Like I was like, cool, go Yahweh. And now we're killing everybody again. This is wild. So they do. Okay, great. Now we're in 1 Kings 19. And 1 Kings 19 goes a little bit like this. Oh, no ProPresenter this time? I love that. This is great. Now, Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Talk about a good time. So Jezebel, by the way, Jezebel is the queen of King Ahab. King Ahab is the king of Israel at this time. At this time, in case you want to nerd out with the Bible a little bit more, you may remember that later in the Bible that the northern kingdom will fall to the Assyrians. That's 722 BCE, in case you were wondering. Fun fact, use it at lunch today. And then later, the southern kingdom will fall. That's 586 BCE to the Babylonians. Also enjoy. But this is before any of that has happened yet, and the kingdoms are still together, and the people of God are trying to figure out their identity. Are they going to live this like integrated Yahweh life? Are they like the Torah touches every part of their life? Or are they going to kind of like do some other things? And the prophets are always trying to remind them of who this faithful God is in their life, and that this faithfulness will actually work for them. So Ahab is one of these kings who's like kind of like, yeah, I'm like half down for Yahweh, but I'm also half down for some other things. And like, let's see how that goes. He marries a chick named Jezebel. We still use that colloquial today. Like, she's a real Jezebel. Sorry that we always say that she's a real Jezebel. That doesn't feel fair, ladies. And today's the day we change that right here. He's a real Jezebel. Yeah. You heard it here first. That's going to be nice. I hope you guys do use that in your life this week. That'll be nice. When your friends are like talking about hoe stories, you're like, man, he's a real Jezebel. All right. Normal things that pastors say on a Sunday morning. I get it. All right. In Jesus' name. Someone just say that? Yeah, I love that. Here we go. So, Jezebel, the like queen who's like introducing all this wild stuff, sends a message to Elijah to say, hey, may the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them. She's like, I'm going to kill you. So appropriately, Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. And when he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there. And while he himself went on a day's journey into the wilderness, he came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I have had enough, Yahweh, he said. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors. Then he lay down under the bush and he fell asleep. Here's the deal. How many of you have done like the faithfulness thing before? You're like Elijah. You're like, I'm doing all of the right things. I keep like putting one foot in front of the other. Like I'm doing it in my relationships and they just don't treat me any better. I swear to you, I'm the only one in this office who follows through on the projects. And everyone else gets rewarded around me. I have such creative ideas. I have submitted so many different scripts. How come they're getting it? How many of you have felt that way? I'm being so faithful. And even though I'm being so faithful, you're coming for my life now? How many of you just feel like this doesn't feel fair? Have you been there? Yeah. That's what the text is saying behind all the weird Jezebel Asherah pole stuff. It's saying Elijah's like, man, I've been faithful. I'm doing the faithful thing, God. And it feels like I'm the only one doing the faithful thing. Why would I want to continue to do this? I'm just worn out. And then the story goes on. And it says, all at once an angel touched him and said, get up and eat. And he looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and they lay down again. And then the angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. So he got up and he ate and he drank, and strengthened by that food from Erewhon, he traveled 40 days. It was, yeah, that's the Hebrew, actually. Erewhon is the pluperfect for honey bread. I don't know. He traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Oreb, the mountain of God, and there he went into a cave, and he spent the night. What I love about the story is that we've all been there as human beings. We've done the faithfulness thing, and it feels like it's not working out for us in some way. And where the story is super honest is sometimes you do the faithfulness thing, and then over here you do the exhaustion thing. How many of you been there where you're like, I have nothing left to give? How many of the parents in this room, you were like, I have so much energy, Cory. I love staying up until 11:30 at night with joy in my heart. No, you're tired at 7 p.m., right? How many of you, LA is just a grind? It's a land of dreams. It's a land that like creates opportunity like any other city probably in the world, and it's so hard sometimes. How many of you are doing the exhaustion thing in your life right now? You know what this is also? Like what I love that it's so honest. We don't the Bible didn't have this language back in the day. How much of this is sometimes just like a mental health and emotional health thing? I couldn't switch this off if I wanted to. And what if I just get to be honest about that? That I'm just mentally at my tipping point and there's nothing that I can do about it. And what's beautiful about the story is that God still shows up in some way. And I don't always know how God shows up in certain ways. Interestingly enough, we played in a championship baseball game last night. It's a multiple game championship. If we won last night, I know, by the way, 12-year-old baseball here. You guys are all super excited. I've never had you more captivated in your life. Thank you so much, right? We're in this 12-year-old baseball game. If we win last night, we win the championship. You know, 12-year-olds are hoisting me on their shoulder. It's about the kids, okay? It's about the kids. And it's a good time. So we go home, and my kid, like, he's, like, eating, you know, something at the end of the game. It's like 9:30 at night, and he like, out of nowhere, asked me this, like, really powerful question. Dad, I don't understand. I prayed every day this week to God that we would win that game, and we didn't. And this is my little 11-year-old, and I'm like, oh, big guy, tell me more about that. He's like, well, I asked God. I asked God every day. I was so consistent asking God for us to win that baseball game. And we got to have this, like, beautiful conversation around God and, like, what could prayer be, and how, again, what does a good parent look like? I mean, that good parents want to hear all of those desires and those amazing things, and sometimes good parents don't always, like, give you every little thing that, like, I'm trying here. It's an 11-year-old conversation. I'm doing, like, existential theology, people, okay? It's 10 p.m. at night, and we're eating ice cream. But we feel that way, don't we? I did the faithful thing. I prayed again and again. I wanted the thing, and now I'm just exhausted. It's not that I didn't ask God. It's not that I wasn't pleading with my dear life and I didn't get the thing, and I'm just worn out. And sometimes God shows up in ways that we see, and sometimes God doesn't. But the thing that I always point to, and that I trust this with my whole life, is you are here now. So God's doing something. You've still made it to this day. What an incredible gift. You've had just enough sustenance to get this far. By the way, some of you are thriving in this room, and I love that, right? And you are like killing it with every part of your being. And I know with everything in me that all of you who are thriving right now, you've had these days where you are worn out and where you are exhausted and you never thought you could get through that day, month, wherever. You ever have those weeks that you're like, those were the best 7 years of my life, right? Because it's just a lot to handle as a human being. And that's the exhaustion thing over here. What I love about these stories is it says that, like, after God heals him, it says that he goes on this journey for, like, did we already get to the part for 40 days? Did it say that yet? No? Remember that? It did say that. Yes, we're all following along. I love that. In the cave. I love it. So he goes on the thing for 40 days. By the way, just as, like, good readers of the Bible, anytime you hear 40, imagine you're watching a movie and, like, it's a huge wardrobe and lighting change. All right? That's what's going on here. Like, imagine someone's, like, doing the exhaustion thing. You're like, opaque lighting. They're in black and white. Clearly they're sad. Are they playing another Adele song in the background? Right, one of those. But then all of a sudden you're like, lighting's much brighter. That's weird. They're wearing pastels. We have some Lady Gaga going on here, right? You're like, things are getting better. Anytime you hear 40 days, 40 years, that's the transformation that's taking place in the Bible. It's trying to say something big happened here. So like Moses, he lived 40 years when he was in Egypt as the prince of Egypt. Watch the movie if you haven't read the Bible, or read the Bible, or do both. It's going to be a good time, all right? Those are those 40 years for. And then he goes into the wilderness for 40 years. So it's like, here's Moses' construction of who he is, right, as the prince of Egypt. Here's his deconstruction in the wilderness for 40 years. It's in this deconstruction that he like sees a bush that's burning and says, this is Yahweh, and Yahweh says to go back. And then the next 40 years is about the people of Israel getting out of Egypt and then being in the wilderness, which is his reconstruction. Like, the Bible was way ahead of Richard Rohr before Richard Rohr, right? It was all right there. You see these stories of 40 all of the time going on. It's saying Elijah was exhausted. He goes through this transformation moment. I don't know how or why, what God did, but God did something, and now Elijah is up for a new journey or for something new in Elijah's transformation. You see it in the story of Jesus, right? In the beginning of Jesus' life, Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 years, and that is the preparation of transformation for Jesus to go live Jesus' life. Jesus dies and resurrects, and then this, like, we miss this one a lot as evangelicals because we're not good liturgicals, by the way, which we should be sometimes, is now from the resurrection to the ascension. That's 40 days of saying there's a new period of transformation, not only in the life of Jesus, but that's a universal transformation that we all go through. That is the cycle of life, and it's happening to us all of the time. And I don't think I breathed once in the last 3 minutes, and that was truly incredible. And so the story goes on, and it goes like this. And the word of the Lord came to him. What are you doing here, Elijah? And he replied, I have been very zealous to you, Yahweh God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I'm the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too. I've been faithful, and I'm exhausted. That's what I'm doing here, God. Okay. Then the Lord said, go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of, by the way, God talks in third person a lot, which is weird, but God does it, all right? So go out and stand in the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks before Yahweh, but Yahweh was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but Yahweh was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake came a fire, but Yahweh was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face, and he went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. And then a voice said to him, same question as before, what are you doing here, Elijah? And he replied, I have been very zealous for you, Yahweh God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I'm the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too. Sometimes after the faithfulness thing and after the exhaustion thing, I think we get to the God thing, which is really the everything. That I wish life worked in different ways, but it doesn't. We talk about this journey all of the time in here because I think that for so many of us, we were told Bible stories or told stories of Jesus, and it was all about like what happened 2,000 years back there, and we don't realize, no, these are universal stories for humanity. You can memorize Jesus facts all that you want. You can quote to everybody that you know when the Assyrian invasion of the northern kingdom happened in 722 BCE. What will that do for your marriage? Nothing. But many of us grew up in churches that way. We were just like taught to remember Bible facts instead of the transformative nature of the stories and to allow the transformative nature of those stories to impact our lives. And this story is beautiful. It's saying, yes, out of sometimes when faithfulness doesn't feel like it's working for you and you're exhausted, you have to be reminded of the God thing. You got to be reminded of the everything. I told this story, I think last week in like question time, how I was driving on the highway a couple weeks ago. And I'm just driving and I'm like just praying out of nowhere. I'm just talking to God. And I go, hey, God. And after I say, hey, God, I just start like dying laughing. I'm like, hey, God, am I talking to the creator of the universe right now? Do you know how preposterous that is? That I believe that I'm talking to the creator of the universe and that you care and that I experienced your presence on the 210 where faith is needed, by the way, right? And how beautiful this is, the way that I think that you're integrated in the world. And it was just a moment of presence. It wasn't in the wind and the fire and the earthquake and in all the pyrotechnics. It was just in a moment of stillness within my soul of, hey, God. Sometimes for me, it's like in the shower when it's quiet and it's before my kids wake up and it's just like warm water and there's no words necessary, but I feel the presence of God in my life, and it feels just maybe more genuine than anything that I know. I just know how true that it is. I know so many of you have looked at that sunset, or you just have these surprise moments where you're like, hey, God. And it's so, so good. And it's in those moments when we don't allow all of the other words to cloud us, when all of the external stuff, when all of the questions, it really doesn't even matter in that moment. It's just that you're connected with some type of presence beyond yourself. This is spirituality at its finest. This isn't religion. This isn't some faithfulness of showing up to church. This wasn't how much Bible you read. This wasn't how many times you could come to the altar at a Billy Graham service. This wasn't any of those things. It was just a moment where you have nothing left, and for whatever reason, you or God or the combination of both found enough stillness in life for you just to say, hey, God, there you are. And that's the magic of the thing. And when we experience that thing, that's where we really want like integration to take place in our life, where it's not about like honoring the Torah or the commands or the law or the Beatitudes or whatever it is. It's just about, no, I want my life to be fully integrated. I want every corner of my life to be touched by you, God, that I truly believe that this way of following Jesus, that this relationship that I have can not only transform me, but it can change the entire world. And that when I live in it, I experience that transformation. When I live in it, like it reshapes the way that I want to be as a human being, right? My neighbor keeps moving my trash can, guys. I want to say cuss words at him. Why are you moving he doesn't like his trash can being in front of the mailbox, but I have these 4 trash cans, and there's no other place to put them, and he won't let me put them on the other side of the street. So he just keeps moving my trash can in front of another neighbor's driveway. I want to murder a man over trash cans. And then I have to like sit in my shower and have a little Jesus time and say, hurt people. And how do I ask my neighbors some questions? Like, how do we find a reasonable solution? And it's so dumb, but we have those dumb things all of the time that are the bigger things. But we recenter ourselves in the everything. And that everything is the God thing, is the Jesus thing. And that's the hard work. The story goes on like this, and this is the last part of it. It says, Yahweh said to him, go back the way you came and go to the desert of Damascus. When you get out there, anoint Hazael, king over Aram, also anoint Jehu, son of... He says anoint a lot of people. I'm going to spare you the rest of the details. Here's the deal. It's like a very specific detail for Elijah's life. It's that sometimes when we do the faithfulness thing and we're through the exhaustion thing, and sometimes when we just have clarity because when we're in everything and in this God thing, then I think sometimes we get to step over here into the purpose thing. And we get to say, oh, that's right. My life is bigger than being in debates over my neighbor and their trash can. My identity is bigger than a bunch of 11-year-olds winning a Little League game. That when I'm living in the God thing, my purpose thing here is reminding 11-year-olds that they are so valuable, that going through hard things, that resiliency is what they're going to need. That's the best of it. That when I'm over here, I'm reminded that the way that I show kindness, the way that I go above and beyond for faithfulness to my neighbor's boundary, right? That's what's going to make me see the world in a more beautiful place. That how I show up in these little details when I'm living in everything means that 20 years of marriage looks so much different. And that it's still a gift and it's still beautiful and something that I want to be a part of every single day and not something that I want to run from. Like the whole thing works together here. So Elijah's purpose is to go the way that he came, to keep reminding the people of God of what their thing was. I don't know what your purpose is, but all I know is, people, we're going into summer. And summer is like this, like it's gray and gloomy right now. It's about to get sunny, LA, right? And I have no idea what your energy is going into summer. But what I'm saying is, what would it look like for you to be still and to listen in your life at the moment? Go sit with the everything right now. Go sit with the God thing. Create space for it in your life. And maybe what you're going to find going into summer is, I'm exhausted and I have nothing to give. That's so okay. Hear that, by the way. That's totally okay. And what you need this summer is more wine nights and more days at the beach and more Settlers of Catan with your friends. I don't know. People say still play that? Do it. Yeah, great. No, you said no. Other people said yes. I love that. That's wonderful. Do the thing.
Take care of yourself there. Don't keep pushing the thing. And some of you, find your clarity in life right now. Hear that still voice of God and say, no, I'm stepping into this purpose thing. Those documents for that book are going to get in, and this is what I'm going to go do in the world. Even though I'm effing around and figure some stuff out, I've got a voice of things that I want to say. My purpose in the world is being Mama Bird Lane to New Abbey Church. I think I just spit on you. That's really gross. I'm so sorry. Right, I want to make sure that people feel cared and comforted here. Go live into your purpose. Let summer of 2026 be that summer that regardless of you're exhausted or regardless of you're living into your purpose, may it be a summer where you're connected with everything, where you're connected with the God thing, where you make room outside of all of the noise, where you're just still, where all of the busyness and social media and all of the things don't have to be the things that are your priority this summer. Would this be a summer for you where you feel most connected with God? That's my hope for you, New Abbey. I don't know what you're doing here, but I hope that you get this summer to answer deeper questions about why you are, and that your life would be so meaningful and filled and vibrant and healthy and whole. Would you find those same 3 or 4 people around you and answer the exact same question? What are you doing here? Enjoy.